Well, the frequency of extreme weather events has increased this summer, from massive wildfires to deadly floods to record setting heat. Now, climate experts are warning these events could have a devastating effect on the global food supply. So, joining us now is Rod Rejesus. He's an agricultural economist at North Carolina State University. Thanks for joining us. It's logical, it makes sense that to grow food, you need water, you need sunshine. If you have too much or too little of either, you have a problem. But can you talk about the impact of what we're seeing now, which is, events that we would call once in 100 years are now happening yearly?
Right. So, I mean, the literature is clear that if climate change, increased frequency of extreme weather events, and these kinds of things continue unabated, crop yields and production of major crops like corn, soybeans, wheat, and rice will likely fall in the future.
Mhm.
And so this has consequences in terms of the market, right? So if there's less supply of all these food production, then prices will likely go up. That is, not good for food security and hunger in different parts of the world.
hmm And I'm wondering too, and I don't know if you looked into this aspect of it, but as climate changes, does that also mean that some of our crops or crops around the world will be exposed to pests and diseases that they normally would not be exposed to because it would be either too cold or too hot if the environment had stayed stable?
Yes, so there's been studies looking at sort of the spillover effects of these as well. That some pests that maybe is more controlled under better weather could probably increase, and that could cause more crop damage and affects food supply more.
So when we talk about the prices going up, though, what are we talking about and how quickly could we see that happen?
Arguably, it's already here, right? So remember, given with the pandemic, food prices went up very very fast, and arguably right now it's because prices are going up even more. And so the system will become more sensitive as shortages and sort of supply effects of these extreme weather becomes more frequent.
I think you make a great point because, climate change is something that's sort of all encompassing, but within that, there are all kinds of other pressures that cause the spikes in food costs. You talk about the war in Ukraine and the lack of availability of grain. Yeah, that's going to have an impact. But if on top of that, we're dealing with climate change, then it means that things could go from chronic to an emergency very, very quickly. The UN climate report suggested that we have reached an irreversible place with world pollution, and the world is predicted to get even hotter over the next 5 years. What are some of the realistic solutions then to crop yield issues?
So there's ongoing research already in terms of developing and breeding crops that are more resistant to these kinds of extreme events, drought, floods, and these kinds of things. And so, in my mind, technology and agricultural practices that could help mitigate the impact of warming temperatures and excessive moisture is critical moving forward. So, research and development of technologies to combat climate change would be important. Of course, on top of efforts to try to mitigate climate change per se.
So the thing about those efforts, Rod, though, is they seem like the sorts of things that can help us maybe in the medium range, but immediately not so much. And as you point out, sort of long term, if the planet keeps getting warmer, not so much. How do we deal with this crisis immediately?
Well, so the best thing perhaps is always trying to sort of stop the progression of climate change and try to reduce greenhouse gases and so forth. In the meantime, of course, agriculture could adapt in terms of growing more tolerant crops in
hmm
Egypt. That's sort of known, but again, it depends. The market consumers prefer wheat, for example, than other crops,
Right.
and that would still be problematic in that sense.
Yeah, well, you bring up another point. Maybe we might have to change our tastes somewhat as well. Rod Rejesus, thank you very much.
Thank you.